Hey, this is Joshua Hardesty, MVA Studio, Minneapolis. Thawing morning here in Minneapolis, but kind of nice. A lot of duck sounds, so get used to it. This is the first episode of a new daily video blog about the MVA Studio, a graphic design company with an all too typical tale that I am trying to change at the moment. What I'm going to talk about today is the story of a very typical kind of tale. I imagine this is true for any service business, but if you've worked in graphic design or advertising, you know that person that left the company that you worked at to either go out on their own or maybe start something, or maybe what they were going to do is they were doing a little side hustle and they were going to dedicate all their time to it full time. And then 3, 6 months, maybe a year later, you found out that now they just work at another place very similar to the place that you all worked together. So the thing did not work, it did not pan out, and they went back to having a job. I did the same thing. We ran the MVA as a kind of side hustle project that me and my wife did projects under the banner of from 2004, I want to say, through to 2008 or 9. I'm trying to get the numbers correct. So 2010, we started making a real go of it, trying to get clients, pay our bills off this thing, and ostensibly we did. Though in 2014, I started looking for a job because I could tell that while we'd had an okay little run, I was about to do what a lot of my favorite graphic design studios when I was younger, what they had done, which is you'd see some really cool work from this studio, especially a two-person studio. Two-people studios are a disaster. There's not a lot of them that weather the storm, kids. A two-person studio, they do a bunch of great work, maybe for a bunch of small little companies, and then at some point the website doesn't exist anymore, and you find out that one of them works at an ad agency and the other one is a full-time teacher. I could see the writing on the wall that our days were numbered, and so I started trying to find that job. But we made all the common mistakes that people make. We intentionally tried to stay small, which in reality we're probably doing because we didn't want to find bigger clients or ask for more money or market ourselves properly or deal with the pressures of employees. We spent too much time on all our projects, though towards the end we actually started to figure it out, but we basically spent way too long on projects that didn't make enough money, and we did not reach out to people and get enough work. I always had a reason why we didn't approach more people. You know, it was always like, your portfolio's not ready, the website's not ready, you need to do one more of these projects, so on and so forth, whatever it is. All these reasons why you weren't doing what needed to be done, which was communicating with the world and trying to get work. That was maybe our biggest problem, because if you do a lot of that, essentially there's a situation where if you make enough money, a lot of your problems aren't problems. They're bad habits, but they're not necessarily problems. But we had these problems because we weren't trying to get enough work. It's such a boring story. It's a boring set of problems. So here I am in 2019. We're working on this relaunch of the MVA. And some of the pressure is off because I'm working on a contract gig now for a couple of months. I quit my job in October. Not to do the MVA full-time, actually. I just quit my job because I needed to quit. But I've been working on this relaunch of the MVA, and in that 5 months, I've gotten a lot of stuff done that I'm happy with. We did some new projects. We have there's this truck over here. We have a redesigned website that I'm really happy with. I've put more effort into documenting our classes to kind of expand the idea of like how teaching might play into the studio. And a lot of work that never really saw the light of day, or never saw the light of day in a way that did justice to it, is finally up on our website. So I can feel really good about that. But I realized yesterday that in those 5 months, there's one thing that I have not been doing, and it is really stupid, and that is I have not sent out a single cold email trying to work with people that I want to work with. But I have not just said, I want to work with this organization and sent them an email. And in the grand scheme of things, that's what's going to be bringing in projects. And I would challenge you, if you're another designer with a small studio, or maybe you're a kid just starting out, and maybe right now all your work is coming via word of mouth. One thing I would look at is if your finances are yo-yoing from high off the hog to living like a pig, maybe word of mouth is not enough. If your finances are yo-yoing from I have as much money as I need to I have more money than I can possibly spend, then you don't need to worry about that. But if there is no stability, maybe word of mouth isn't working. And this was a lesson that we did not learn until too late. We accepted the idea that because we were a small business, our finances should yo-yo. That was our biggest mistake, because that is the biggest symptom that things are going wrong and you're not doing the right stuff. So the challenge on me is I got to start sending those emails out and trying to meet people that I want to work with. And hopefully by the next time we issue a status report type email, I will be able to tell you, don't worry, I've sent out 2 to 3 emails a day. We're hustling. So thanks a lot for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them. If you are in a similar boat to us, maybe you have a small studio or something that's not popping the way that you want it to, leave a comment or a question. And if you're on the side of the client side of working with graphic designers and you have a question about the process or about how we think about things or about working with designers, leave that comment or question. Please subscribe to. Thanks a lot for watching.